Hello everyone and welcome back to the channel for another Star Wars Battlefront 2 video. Today we're going to be ranking every hero and villain in Battlefront 2, and I haven't made a video like this in a really long time. I was actually planning on waiting until Anakin and Dooku arrived to make this, but then I saw a similar video that didn't even have Lando in the top 10 and had my boy Han at almost dead last, and that's when I realized that I just needed to make this list for myself for YouTube. If you'd like to see more of these videos, please let me know by leaving a like. I'm considering doing a video ranking all of the blasters, but I'll only do that if I see a lot of you guys want more videos like this. Also, I feel the need to say this, keep in mind that at this point, pretty much every hero in Battlefront 2 was at the very least good. When this game launched, there were a lot of heroes that were clearly much weaker than others. Heroes like Iden, Kylo Ren, and Luke all really come to mind there, but things have drastically changed and DICE has done a good job of making every single hero viable, especially now that every hero is equipped with a health bonus star card. A good player can do well with any hero, so it doesn't matter that you went on a kill streak with the hero that's in dead last. It doesn't mean they're bad, it just means they aren't as good as ones who rank higher. Anyways guys, with all of that being said, let's get into this. So coming in at the bottom of our list, and this was one of the only clear-cut choices for me while making this video, we have Captain Phasma. In Galactic Assault, Phasma is fine. She's nothing spectacular as her gun is nowhere near as good as Iden's TL-50 or Bossk's Relby, but it does its job well enough up close. Her health in Galactic Assault used to be one of her best assets, but now that every hero has a health on kill card while she is equipped with a card that only works with her most useless ability, her health is less impressive nowadays. That being said, she is okay in GA, definitely bottom tier compared to other heroes, but not difficult to use at all. In HVV, well, if you have a full squad that will cooperate with you and sit right next to your door in a really cheap spot, sure, Phasma is great and you'll be able to destroy a team by being really cheap and sitting in a doorway that enemies just can't get around. If your team doesn't want to sit next to your droid the entire time, well, you better hope you are playing against some really stupid enemies, because to be effective with Phasma, you have to be near her droid and utilize that correctly, as without it, she is pretty much a free kill and is so easy to take down. The problem is, a Phasma by herself, even with her droid, is so easy to counter it's almost laughable, especially now that we have Obi-Wan with his force push as well. If you're a blaster hero, just shoot her droid until it blows up and then kill her, and if you're a lightsaber hero, anyone but Rey can just push her away from her droid and really easily kill her. If your push is on cooldown, just block so the droid can't shock you and deflect all of her shots into her face until she runs away from her droid and kill her that way. Again, if you are a good player, you'll be able to do well with just about anyone, but Phasma is so easy to counter, and I'm not someone who wants to sit in one place for entire matches. I would rather watch paint dry, so Phasma comes in at number 18. Next up, we have Finn, who is, in my opinion, a completely inoffensive hero. There's absolutely nothing wrong with him as he is meant for support, and in Galactic Assault he is very strong against infantry. With that being said, the only real reason to use him in GA is if you just don't know how to aim, as his Deadeye is great for free kills, but his regular blaster is definitely the weakest of the light side hero blasters. His undercover team is a very situational ability in a game like this, where most people don't pay attention to the radar at all, and while Big Deal is awesome for supporting your teammates, I have decent aim, so I would much rather be using someone like Han or Lando. In HVV, he is indisputably the worst hero unless you're just trying to kill a pesky Boba Fett, or you're playing with a squad who is working together and coordinating your Big Deal for ability recharge, and even then, Yoda's presence would provide better support as he can also hold his own while providing that extra protection. By himself in HVV, Finn is outclassed by pretty much everyone. Anyone worth their salt will know just to avoid your Deadeye and then absolutely melt you, as his standard blaster just cannot compete with the dark side blasters or lightsaber heroes. Like I said, if you're just trying to kill a pesky Boba who keeps flying away, Finn is good for that, but overall he deservedly takes the underwhelming number 17 spot. Speaking of Boba Fett, he flies in at number 16, and I should note, the hero designer for DICE has said many times that they are working on a pretty big buff for Boba, so in a few months maybe he'll be better balanced. Listen guys, I get it, Boba is cool and it's always satisfying to melt heroes with his rocket barrage. If you're in an HVV lobby against a team with a setup of Leia, Lando, Han, and Chewie, Boba is going to be a great choice because it's so easy to kill blaster heroes with his barrage. However, lobbies with more than 2 blaster heroes are pretty rare these days, especially now that we have Obi-Wan, and honestly most lobbies I'm in have 1 or even 0 heroes, as most people just prefer lightsabers in that mode. That being said, any saber user worth anything can easily avoid a barrage if they're paying attention, and if they're a not so great player, well, you could have just killed them with any other villain anyway. In Galactic Assault, he is still pretty weak. I've went on some decent kill streaks with him, but that is not the point. Other heroes are just statistically stronger, from health regen to DPS to just his base health. Boba is unfortunately outclassed, mainly due to the spread of his EE3. If they would just give him an ADS like he had in Battlefront 2015, it would solve a lot of problems, as his spread is so wide now that your shots go all over the place if you're past close range, which is generally not where you want to be with someone like Boba. You want to be perched up, out of harm, so you can use your jetpack if something happens. Again, Boba is perfectly usable, but even with his barrage, he couldn't secure a higher position. Number 15 goes to Kylo Ren, and I have to say I almost feel bad for him, as I'm ranking these heroes as they currently are, and something DICE did to Kylo with the last update really messed him up. His frenzy pretty much just doesn't work at all right now. Sometimes he'll lock onto someone and miss them, sometimes he'll miss half the hits and then hit them towards the end, other times he'll just twirl in the air and do nothing, and I've had him just get stuck in animation many times. If this were before the most recent patch, Kylo would be a couple of positions higher, but as he is right now, he had to come in pretty low. With that being said, when he's working, Kylo is pretty slept on. His pull is amazing for pulling players off of an objective, or just catching an HVV runner. His freeze works great against heroes when you coordinate with teammates, and his frenzy has the ability to shred when it's working, and before the most recent patch, it was relatively consistent. I'm not going to go into much more detail for Kylo. He is great when he's working, but DICE just needs to give him the same treatment they did Grievous recently and fix his major issues. At number 14, we have Chewbacca, and I talk about him all the time, so not much detail is needed, but even after his nerf, Chewie is still a top 2 light side hero for HVV. He still absolutely melts if you can even kind of aim. As always, he's still pretty weak in Galactic Assault. DICE gave him a very weak health card that only occasionally helps, and I'm still not even sold on using it at all. Chewie falls into this weird void of being one of the best choices for HVV, and among the very worst for Galactic Assault. I think versatility is very important for a list like this, and due to him being weaker even than the Wookiee Warrior in Galactic Assault, which are far cheaper, I thought number 14 was a very fair position for this furball. Moving on, our number 13 position goes to Obi-Wan. I tried to take any bias out of the equation while making this list because currently Obi-Wan is my favorite hero to use in Galactic Assault, but that being said, he doesn't deserve a higher position, as every hero that is still to come is without a doubt a stronger overall choice. In HVV, Obi-Wan is one of the weaker heroes. His abilities are just inferior versions of abilities other heroes already have. His force push is not nearly as good against villains as Luke, as the charge up time gives decent players a ton of time to either block the ability completely or just close the ground on you and get a force choke or freeze on you, rendering you completely useless. Luke can use his in the air and on the fly, making his far less predictable. His restrictive mind trick is so much easier to counter than Rey's and lasts for less than a third of the time as hers. I will say his restrictive mind trick is great against heroes like Iden and Maul, who are very much reliant on their dashes and rolls in that mode, but against someone like Vader or Kylo, you might as well not even bother using it, as they can just easily block for 3 seconds until the effect wears off. Finally, his defensive rush is a much weaker version of Rey's dash strike against villains because it doesn't stun them and doesn't block any force abilities, leaving you so vulnerable. It's amazing against infantry, but against heroes, it's not as good as Rey's dash strike because her dash strike knocks everyone to the ground, giving you a huge opportunity to deal massive damage, while Obi-Wan's just kind of waggles around and any enemy in HVV can freeze, choke, pull, or shock you in that animation. I really think it should block more things. Hopefully DICE changes that. In Galactic Assault, Obi-Wan is pretty great once fully upgraded though. His health regen and stamina are both awesome, and his defensive rush is great once you have his forward card upgraded, although it's pretty weak until you have that done. Like I said, it's not great against villains, but against infantry, it's kind of unrivaled once upgraded. I actually really love using Obi-Wan in both modes as he's my favorite character, but that doesn't change the stats, and he really is outclassed in a lot of ways by the other light side heroes. Next up is Leia. There's not too much that needs to be said about her. She is amazing in Galactic Assault, easily a top tier hero on maps like Crate and Hoth, and is also very good in HVV, and is really the first hero on this list to be pretty balanced between both game modes. Her E11 just shreds villains, and her pistol does a great job against troopers up close, and with her secondary fire at range. Not much more to say about Leia, just learn to aim up close and you can do really well with her in pretty much any situation. At number 11, we have Luke, and I have to say I'm kind of proud of the old boy. He has worked so much better than he did at launch. Last year, Luke was a D tier hero. His push and repulse barely worked, his health regen was pretty sluggish, his force push was so weak, and overall he was just outclassed by Rey in pretty much every way possible. He is still outclassed by Rey in most situations, yeah, but Luke really can hold his own these days. Nothing is more satisfying than killing a group of enemies in one shot with his force push, and even though his force powers do have some issues to this day, they are far more consistent as of late. His health regen is also amazing. No other hero regens as fast as he does, which can make him so so annoying in HVV when facing against someone who knows just how fast he can get his health back and abusing that. Luke is just a really well-balanced hero these days. He's so good in both HVV and Galactic Assault, and I just can't forget to mention how fun it is to knock people off maps when they least suspect it. Either way, Luke is a lot of fun, not my favorite, but almost made the top 10 at number 11. Finally, moving into the top 10, we have Han Solo, aka the hero that many people think is trash, but really just requires a lot of skill to use well. In most lobbies, Han may as well be a free kill because most people can't aim, and he is very easy to take down most of the time. Every once in a while, though, you'll go up against a Han that actually knows what they're doing and knows how to position themselves, and he just messes you up at first because you didn't expect it at all. Han is so great, his DL-44 is amazing, and his Detonite charge is even better, but it is undeniable that he takes a fair amount of skill and practice to utilize efficiently. Number 9 goes to Palpatine, and oh how the mighty have fallen, as over the summer Palpatine was easily the number 1 pick. Back when his lightning traveled through walls, lightsaber heroes had like no stamina, and his health on shock card was even more absurd, Palpatine may have been the most overpowered and downright broken hero in gaming history. Now, he is still very good. He can be so strong when you're playing against a good team in HVV that will break blocks for you, and in Galactic Assault, I mean, his lightning locks on. What do you want me to say? Kills are easy peasy. He is really easy to counter in a 1v1 if you're a lightsaber hero, but most blaster heroes are just so easy to melt as Palpatine. That being said, he's still a force to be reckoned with once you master his movement, and he comes in at number 9. Number 8 goes to Iden Versio, and can I just say it is astounding how much better she is these days? At launch, she was pretty much hot garbage. I did still have fun using her, but she was so fragile and so easy to take down. Her shock droid just took ages to stun, her droid shield didn't work at all, her health was way lower, and she had no way to regen extra health. Now she is absolutely amazing. In HVV, if you are good with her, she can counter pretty much anyone, her stun droid will melt a hero in seconds, and even if a hero is blocking, they cannot block your secondary fire, so you can just melt them that way. Her droid shield is just incredible now and pretty much makes you invulnerable while using it, and her health on shock card keeps you full on health all the time. She is easily a top 5 hero or villain for HVV, and in Galactic Assault, she's also very good. Not the best, but very solid, mostly due to her secondary fire. If she didn't have that, she would be pretty weak, but her secondary fire is so strong it makes up for her minor shortcomings, at least in that mode. Iden is awesome. A good Iden is very difficult to counter in HVV, and quite honestly, it was very difficult to rank her only at 8, but it had to be done. Moving on to number 7, we have Bossk, who is probably the single easiest hero to do well with in Galactic Assault, but is also a hero that has a pretty large skill gap. Some heroes like Vader you can do well with only after a bit of practice, and then you can reach your full potential with Vader after not too long of practicing, but Bossk is a hero that you can do well with pretty much right away within Galactic Assault, but the skill ceiling is pretty high, and you can just get better and better with him as you use him more, and you learn maps and get better at hip firing and sniping with his Relby, and find the best place to position your Dioxis and mines. I have had several 100+ kill streaks with Bossk. He really is a great hero that I still enjoy using and improving my game with. In HVV, he is also pretty good. He's definitely not the best, but I find most people are just terrible with him in that mode. But like Han, once you get his playstyle down for heroes versus villains, he is still very good. You all knew Bossk would make the top 10. He is a very solid hero and comes in at number 7. We are almost into the top 5, but just missing that prestige at number 6 is Yoda, who is a hero that I was a little bit too hard on in my last ranking video. He's probably the single best light side hero in Galactic Assault, maybe second best, but is also very decent in HVV these days, although not exactly an A-list hero in that mode. In Galactic Assault, most players will not be able to deal any damage to you as your hitbox is so small, and even if they do, Yoda has one of the best blocks in the game. His dash allows him to damage multiple enemies at once and breaks block with ease, and his presence can lock down a choke point by buffing everyone around you. I really don't even need to explain any further what makes him so great against infantry. He's just an absolute beast. For HVV, he is amazing for supporting your team, and while his lack of a block against sabers does hinder him a bit, his ability to break blocks 3 times over with his dash is pretty much unrivaled in terms of damaging a blocky boy. He is a slightly above average hero in HVV and among the best in Galactic Assault, possibly the best for the light side, which puts him just shy of a top 5 position. Alright fellas, we are in the end game now. Coming in at number 5, we have Lando, aka the single best light side hero for HVV, and it's not even close. Throw your disabler down, know how to land a few headshots, and insta-kill every single villain in the game. Nothing more really needs to be said about that. In Galactic Assault, now that he has a health card, my god, he is a beast, as his sharp shot doesn't require to make yourself vulnerable at all, and keeps your health high always. His only drawbacks are a smoke grenade, which has very limited functionality. I do know it restricts closing attacks and can prevent provide cover, but for a hero ability it is undeniably weak, and his health regen stats are still very low, although that is totally understandable as high health regen or no, he is an absolute unit. Next up, we have our highest ranking light side hero, Rey. I have heralded Rey forever. She is pretty much Luke on steroids. Better abilities, pretty much unlimited stamina, wall hacks, and a damage boost on command, tons of free score for assists, a knockdown ability, and a very respectable health regen stat. Rey has it all. If Rey wasn't a character from the sequels, I can guarantee she'd be just about everyone's favorite hero, but since a lot of people aren't a fan of her character, she doesn't see nearly as much use as Yoda or Luke despite being far stronger than both. Her abilities are great no matter the mode. If you've been neglecting her because you don't like her character, you are only holding yourself back, and she comes in at number 4. At number 3, we have Darth Maul. Fast, powerful, and a very difficult target for enemies to hit, Maul was always a force to be reckoned with. Now that he has a health on kill star card, watch out because every time I use him, I pretty much feel invincible. His lack of a block is rarely a problem due to his speed, and he's at an advantage in pretty much every single situation. He almost always has the upper hand. Everyone loves Maul. He's one of the most popular heroes. You see him in like every game, and the great thing about him is there's really not a single map or mode where you're at a disadvantage if you choose Maul. He is incredibly versatile, and he was a no-brainer for our number 3 spot. I will say this right now, choosing between my number 1 and number 2 spot was really difficult, but the runner-up position goes to General Grievous, who I believe is currently the best overall hero in HVV, and is a top 3 hero in Galactic Assault as well. With 2 abilities with knockdown and the highest lightsaber damage in the game, Grievous is unbelievably powerful against heroes, and can one-shot troopers all day long. His health regen is great, his block when combined with Unrelenting Advance is more than enough to serve his purpose, and my god, he's just a blast to play with. Really nothing more to say. Grievous is a beast, and while many have been crying for a nerf, I don't think he needs one at all. He is just fine as is. Our number 1 spot ultimately had to go to the most iconic character in Star Wars history, Darth Vader. This was really hard. I will tell you right now, Grievous almost took this spot. I personally think Grievous is just slightly better than Vader in HVV, but I also think Vader is better than Grievous in Galactic Assault, and Vader has the edge overall, just barely. With his absurd health, great abilities, and very strong lightsaber damage, Vader is a powerhouse no matter the situation. His stamina is so high even his movement speed isn't a hindrance, and Grievous is a great choice for new players and veterans alike, and he comes in at number 1. Well guys, that is going to do it for today's video. Again, if you'd like to see more ranking videos like this, please let me know by leaving a like. If I see a lot of interest, maybe I could release one of these each weekend. I could do blasters, star cards, maps, and everything in between. Make sure to subscribe if you are new, as we would, as always, be honored if you would join us. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
So long.